What's up, folks? This is Shepard Plays here, and today I'm gonna present you something very exciting. I went on the internet the other day and I stumbled across something amazing. Ubisoft has put out few videos ready about their next game. But what is this next game? Well, it's called Rainbow Six Extraction. I'm sure all of you know about that franchise Rainbow Six from Tom Clancy. Well, this time this is a different approach to this game. Before we had to do some SWAT simulation and fight against players, but this time we are not fighting players anymore. We are fighting aliens, and those aliens are called the Archeans. You can play alone or with your friends, but I recommend to play with your friends. This game looks creepy and very exciting at the same time. Now, in this game you don't only fight aliens. Before going to a mission or a party or a map, you are gonna be able to craft gadgets and tools so you can prepare good for your missions, and that is very useful. So now you can lose your operators, and if you lose them you don't get them back. Of course, some of your friends can rescue you, or you can rescue them before the operator is lost. Now let's talk about the maps. Well, the maps are not the same as you used to know in the previous game. This time the maps are 3 times bigger than previously. Now they are also not only 3 times bigger, but there is subzones to those maps. And the total number of subzones is 36. So each time you're gonna go in a map, the map is not gonna look the same. The overall might look the same, but the subzones will change. In those subzones, every time you play, there are gonna be different enemies and different objectives. So like that, the replayability of this game is gonna be better. Now, about the enemy types. Let's talk about the enemy. Now, there's a lot of enemies, a lot of different enemies that is gonna add the difficulty about the game. So they are the breachers. The breachers, like the name says, they breach things. They can destroy things. They are kamikazes, basically. They explode on impact. They can explode a barrier, or they can explode on you, dealing AoE damage. So stay away from them, shoot them from far, but don't shoot them while they are close to your friend. Now let's talk about the bloaters. The bloaters are similar to the breachers, but those ones are also kamikazes, but instead of explosion, they explode with poison gas. Shoot them before they reach you. You can shoot them without exploding them. That is possible, just don't shoot their thing that is on their back. The thing that is on their back is actually the thing that contains the poison. If you shoot on them, they die. You can use that as a trap against your enemies, right? It's a good tactic, isn't it? So now that's it for the bloaters. Now there's the sowers. The sowers basically are just mindless aliens, and they just come at you, charge at you like a bull. There's nothing more to them. Now there is the lurker. What about the lurker? Well, the lurker is lurking. He can be invisible and can make his friends invisible too. So for that, there is a counter. You have also one operator that can use an ability to render yourself invisible and your friends. So in that case, you can lurk the lurker before he lurks you. The enemies can also call for help. So basically they have nests all around the map, and if they start screaming, those nests will start spawning more enemies. Okay, so those nests, they have special enemies coming out of them. Now there is the grunt. The grunt coming out of those nests is called basically the grunt, and can kill you in like 2 hits or 3. But there is a good side to it. You can headshot it, and 1 headshot means death for him. Now there are the spikers that comes also out of those nests. Well, those spikers, they shoot projectiles at you, and they also provide themselves some cover. I think that's really familiar, and that's what we were doing in Rainbow Six Siege. We were finding cover and shooting. Well, that's what he's doing. So be careful about the spikers. Now there are more enemies I could talk about, but what's the point? Like, if I tell you everything, I mean, you can also see those enemies on the Ubisoft channels. Okay, let's talk about the PC specs. So for the PC specs, there are different variations in that. So for the low and 1080p, you will need to have a CPU of Intel i5 4460, so 4460. Now, if you have an AMD, you need to have a minimum of a Ryzen 3 1200. Those ones are really old, and honestly it will run fine if you put everything on low settings. Now if you go to the GPU you can use NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960 4GB dedicated graphics, or you can use an AMD RX 560 4GB dedicated graphics. For the RAM, it needs to be 8GB plus it needs to be a dual channel setup. If you have a single channel setup, this is not gonna work. Now for the OS. It's pretty much the same for all the different PCs. Now you need a Windows 10 64 bits. If you have a 32 bits, then I'm sorry, you cannot, I don't think you will be able to play. For the storage, it's the same for every recommendation. It's 85GB. Now for the high-end, like high graphics, 1080p, then you're gonna need a CPU of Intel i7 4790 or an AMD Ryzen 5 1600. For the GPU, you will need an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 with 6GB of dedicated graphics. If you have an AMD, you will need to use an RX 580 with 8GB dedicated graphics. Now, for the RAM, you will need a 16GB, not anymore 8GB, and still it needs to be a dual channel. Do not take a single RAM of 16GB, take 8 times 2. It's way better and it's gonna run smoother. Now for the OS, there is Windows 10 64-bit, same as the low and high Windows 10 64-bit. For the storage, it's also gonna be the same, 85GB. Now if you want to go a bit higher in resolution, like 1440p, then you will have to get like Intel i5 8400 or an AMD Ryzen 5 2600X. For those ones, it's a bit expensive, but it's like mid-range, and like it's, you know, it's possible, like play on that, like it's really, like it's okay. Now if we're talking about the GPU, you will need a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060 and 6GB dedicated graphic, or use an AMD RX 5600 XT 6GB dedicated graphics. Now for the RAM, we're talking about 16GB as well, and still dual channel. So yes, don't forget the dual channel. For the OS, well, you can use a Windows 11 with 64 bits, but you can also use a Windows 10. But I do not recommend to use Windows 11 as it is really bad for the performance. Just use Windows 10, everything will be fine. For the storage, same, 85GB. Now if we talk about the Ultra 2160p, you will need very high-end PC. So like NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080 with 10GB dedicated graphics, or an AMD RX 6800 XT 16GB dedicated graphics. Now for the RAM, it's still the same, 16GB dual channel as well. For the OS, well, Windows 10, do not take Windows 11, but it needs to be 64-bit, so Windows 10 64-bit. For the storage, well, there is another additional bonus here. You can use you can download the texture pack, which will be 9GB more for the HD textures. So yeah. Now the basic specs do not stop at here. There's more to it. Vulkan will be supported. So like you play on Ghost Recon you play on Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the same. You can choose Vulkan. So yeah, it's gonna be really nice for the optimization. Now it will support NVIDIA DLSS. So for those who don't know what DLSS is deep learning super sampling. So it's like an AI that will try to adjust everything, like super sample to make your game more optimized. Now, do I think that the game is a hit or miss? Well, for me it's a hit because I really love PvE. For those who don't like PvE, well, there's still gonna be Rainbow Six Siege out there. I'm sure it's gonna get some updates again. But for those who really like the PvE, I think this is a great move, Ubisoft. Well done, and I hope like to play this game. We have few days left till the release date. The release date is on the 20th of January. So for those who have pre-ordered it, you're gonna get it, and for those who want to buy it, then buy it on the 20th. So that's it, guys, for this video. Thanks for listening to me. Please hit that bell notification button to receive any news from my channel. Please subscribe to help me with the algorithm. Please comment down below to tell me if you like this video, if it was really helpful for you. And with that said, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.